sure that we harmonize the list. All the caucuses were fully represented, but at a stage, some scrupulous element from the state level, they try to think out with the list. But as you can see, the majority will always have their way. That is why we have loads of people here that are fully represented and support the harmonized list from this local government.
Now to Ondo State, where the APC Secretariat in Akure South local government area is the venue of the Congress, and the process adopted is also that of consensus candidacy. Chairman of the Ondo State Local Government Congress Committee, who's the acting state chairman of the party, says the exercise is satisfactory.
This is the very first time that all the leaders will come together unanimously and took an acceptable decision that all the leaders, they decided to have just one voice.
The truth of the matter is that in an exercise of this nature, there will be different opinions. We are sufficiently certain that all of this will have been resolved by now. But even if there's any other thing that needs to be resolved, there are processes in place for that to be handled.
In Oyo and Ekiti states, there were equally large turnouts of APC members who took advantage of the Congress to choose leaders who will represent them at the local government levels.
You can see how enthusiastic people are. It shows that Oyo State belongs to APC. This is not a real election. This is just party primary, a party congress. You can see the people. You cannot imagine what will happen if we have to have election.
We said the Congress must be free and fair. And we said they shouldn't allow anybody, whoever he is, to hijack their mandate.
From now to 2023, political activities will rev up, and politicians themselves are leaving nothing to chance as they solidify control of their domains at the ward, local, state, and indeed federal levels. And in all of this, all the political parties are in the center as they begin to rule voters who will eventually decide.
Ibrahim Modibo and Wazu Magaji, members of the All Progressive Congress, are still with us in our studios, and we're looking at the internal party politics of the APC ahead of the state congresses, which is to hold sometime in October. Well, let's throw this conversation now to my colleagues in Lagos. Gentlemen.
All right, gentlemen, let me ask you. Let me start with you, Mr. Mogaji. This Congress across the states, the fact that it's going to hold, because we don't know the way it's going to turn out. To what extent do you think it will go in reconciling those, several blocks in the party?
Well, honestly, that depends largely on how transparent and how credible the process will be allowed to go. I believe that state congresses are very key. In the federation, the states are the major drivers of the politics and the development of the nation. And I believe that it is the right thing to do for APC to subject itself to the process of getting new leaders. The major challenge, as we've been speaking, is how will it go? In what way will the leadership be allowed to emerge? I very much hope that the atmosphere of transparency that will be seen and be perceived to be implemented by people will be the rule of the game. I believe that there are states that have issues that no matter what we do, we will have to come out with some reconciliatory activities after the congresses. But this is what happened with every contest. No matter how any individual assumes his or her popularity, when you subject the process to a fair contest, that individual will then realize his or her level of acceptability within the person loses in the process. Then you do not end up with a challenge or a complaint because the process is fair and is publicly witnessed. Our party prided itself that we are publicly carrying out internal primaries through our own internal Congress, through individual members' vote. We have tried that and we have seen the result. There are times when we go into delegate-based election, and then now we are dominantly talking about consensus. You are constraining the choice of people as you progress from an open, transparent choices by individual members to delegate system. And now you are even more constraining from delegate system to a consensus. The problem with this consensus is who are in the room and what criteria are they using to pick the candidates that we all endorse at the end of the process. That we present. And what mechanism do we have of this in a democratic space? Then we will have to face the general public in an election. And most of the time, those aggrieved individuals are the ones that will basically design a failure strategy around our candidates. So my take is this is a very good transitional democratic move by our party, and it will help us exit the crisis of leadership up to the point where we will go into a national Congress and elect the national leaders, and then come out and face the issue of bringing out our candidate for election.
All right, Mr. Modibo.
The golden rule is the game has a rule, and if we don't go by the rule, we will miss the major reason why this is happening.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Modibo on this.
Invite new members.
Okay, pardon me on this. Let me bring in Mr. Modibo. Well, even though you refer to some of these things as fundamental flaws, but in a world that the party needs to worry about, is that right?
You see, Mr. Chamberlain, by nature, I'm an incurable optimist. Whatever I do, maybe it's because of my experience in politics. I've been there since through the publicity. Let me reiterate again. I know, as a matter of whose norms, a political party by a mosque or a church, where people just follow what the priest says. It is a market square, and therefore the more the merrier. And this is the beauty of democracy. I want to tell you, without any fear of contradiction, that the processes of which we are undertaking now, it's okay. Also have people of conscience and wedding. APC is never lacking in men and women of valor and candor that have been of real democratic, putting in democratic structures for conformity with global trend of democracy. And therefore, I want to assure you that in spite of all these problems that we've had here and there, or we're having here and there, with the internal party mechanism of conflict resolution, I can tell you that give us time, we'll sit down, we'll resolve our problems, whatever it is. Joy is better than war. Therefore, we believe as Democrats, as progressives, this issue of consensus, to me, it is a bridge building mechanism because it helps in avoiding a lot of rancor. Agreed that some people will definitely, because of interest, will definitely feel bad, in the process of trying to get power. But we have to look at the national interest and the party interest. What are we looking at? Under the present circumstances, Nigeria, under the APC, is a formidable political party that is out to give dividend of democracy to Nigerians. We've seen so far how this government has been doing, in spite of all the political and economic problems that has confronted this country. We've been trying to see how we could assist in at least tackling the security problem, looking at corruption, and also laying fundamentals on the issue of putting in infrastructure in the country. Agreed. People have been having problems in Nigeria, but we want to appeal. We want to also tell Nigerians that we're really sorry that some hardships are there under our party, but these hardships are sacrifices that are meant to cushion the effect of hardship. These are sacrifices that Nigerians will put in for the betterment of society in due course. Honestly and sincerely, all the network of roads, all the social infrastructure in due course will see the benefit. And therefore, now as we move into the phases of these congresses, APC as a political party under my Malab see the possibilities of bringing in consensus, bridging consensus so that the old brigades and the new ones will come to be harmonized. I can tell you that indeed we are going to look at this issue from a very wider perspective. Let us not narrow our gauge.
Okay,
towards
Mr. Modibo.
the current situation. Whatever rises up will come down, except age.